Um, well, we can talk about the birth of the wargaming.net brand, if you like.
Yes.
It took place in Berkeley, California, let me think about this, roughly September 2011, yeah? I wasn't even working for Wargaming, but I was like a consultant, you know, I was being paid a sort of a little fee on a monthly basis. And they flew me out to this off-site at the last minute. And Victor was there, and Andre, yes. Fred, and Dima, and basically the core sort of like publishing and senior management team. And most of them I hadn't even met before, so it was quite...
How did you met?
Well, when Victor knew he had this kind of like big hit on his hands, he rapidly realised that, okay, this is a chance to go from being a sort of niche developer publisher in CIS to, you know, a global games company. And in order to do that, he needed to build his team. And, you know, he became very quickly aware that if he was going to build a team, he wanted to get people, A, that were competent and could do their jobs, but also, you know, Wargaming has got a sort of family feel to it that comes from Victor.
Small team.
Well, yeah, you have to be able to smoke and drink and tell jokes and stay up late and, you know, be a sort of a decent all-round bloke.
At 2014 end party, was it Hard Rock Cafe? It was great.
Superb. By the way, that's where we're going to go tonight, hopefully. So yeah, it's kind of like, you know, you have to be very good, and you really have to be into games and all that stuff, but you also have to be sort of like a decent bloke that can go out and, you know, and have a bit of a party. So Victor basically, you know, used his network of people, both at Wargaming but also through Big World, who at that moment we didn't own. And so Big World were well connected because they go around and they license and sell their tech to different publishers and developers around the world. So I had worked with Big World historically, and Gavin Longhurst, who was their biz dev guy, when Victor said, you know, we're looking for like, you know, cool marketing people, Gavin mentioned my name, which is great. I've bought Gavin many drinks over the years for that introduction. But yeah, so then I got flown out to this meeting, and they're discussing the sort of the rebranding of Wargaming.net, because I know that this is the esports version, but if you can imagine, we should have the Wargaming brand somewhere.
There's the other one.
I've got a tattoo on there. Oh, there you go. Brilliant. There it is. Brilliant. That's the baby.
It has an American taste. Big, loud, powerful.
Well, the actual adjectives that we use are heavy, metal, gritty, solid, powerful, authentic, and military. It's meant to be global, so it's not meant to have an overtly American feel. But yeah, so they just had the old logo, wargaming.net, with the circle and the two arrows. And it, you know, it looked fine. And, you know, it was totally fit for purpose. But they were saying, you know, we want to be global. We want to appeal not just to like hardcore military fans, but we want to appeal to young gamers and mainstream entertainment consumers. And so I said, well, if you want to do that, you need to have something like EA Sports used to have, because I used to look after EA Sports in Europe for a while. And they've got what we call a brand positioning statement, which is real sports for real sports fans. So the wargaming equivalent, which we eventually agreed on, is free-to-play, team-based global online battles. So that's your positioning statement. Then EA Sports, they have that their consumer proposition, or their motto, if you like, which is, it's in the game.
Yes.
And so, you know, we came up with Let's Battle.
Let's Battle was good.
Thank you very much. That was me, with a little bit of help. Then last but not least, EA Sports always used to say, look, you know, our games have got real teams, real players, real stadia, real moves, real sports commentary, you know, real. So we then came up with our equivalent, which is heavy metal, gritty, solid, powerful, authentic military. Once you've got that, you know, kind of nailed, you then basically make sure, you know, you produce a style guide, which is kind of like your brand rule book. You can do this, you can't do that. You know, this is your font. Our font. There's a font you've probably seen.
Is it custom or?
Yeah, there's a font called Helios.
Yes.
And ours is an adapted version of Helios, which we call War Helios.
Very nice.
So we've got our own font, we've got our own colour palette. So we started with wargaming.net, then we moved to World of Tanks, and that's when we added Rollout into World of Tanks. Then we've got Get Airborne for warplanes, and then Action Stations for warships. All of these are like authentic commands that the military commanders use to either mobilise the tanks, planes, or ships. And then, you know, Mo and the esports team, they were getting really clear about their identity, and they said, look, can you give us a sort of, you know, a bit of help to develop a brand for esports? So
it still carries strategy.
Absolutely,
inside.
yeah, absolutely.
The core root of the company was strategy games, and I reviewed them back at 90s.
Yeah, exactly.
First games.
Yeah. So you can see the link between this through the arrows.
Yes.
We still use the same font, or Helios, and we still use these kind of like, you know, bright metal. But yeah, Mo was very clear. He wanted it to be a sports brand, and he wanted it to appeal not to hardcore military sort of strategy fans, but to, you know, a mainstreaming gamer. So we evolved from the circle to the shield. We dialed up the global bit with the map in the background, and we gave it a sort of, you know, more of a contemporary, you know, that could be a logo for, like, you know, the World Wrestling Federation, for example, you know, so it looks sporty, and that was the brief. So yeah, I think we've come up with a cool brand.
Texture also has hexagonal tiles, like old Panzer General.
You see,
it has tanks too.
You notice these details. All of that was deliberately built in there.
It's excellent. Those details are whatever, it gives you subconscious messages from the old times.
I will pass on your compliments to the design team that did it. They did a great job. The only thing missing, funny enough, is wargaming.net has Let's Battle. The Wargaming League motto is actually free to win. For some reason that's been left off here. But free to win we like, because it speaks to the fact that we're free to play.
It's a very strong market message. In the free to play gaming, they say pay to win.
Exactly.
You're saying the opposite.
Free to win. Exactly right. So there you go. That's what we try and do.
It's very good. The free to win motto is a very strong motto.
Yeah, it should be there.
It should be there.
I'm going to have a word with Mo immediately after this interview.
So what do you think about the theme music of the wargaming, World of Tanks, World of Ships?
The actual music in the game?
Yes.
Well, they always say that, you know, you shouldn't notice a soundtrack until it's gone.
Yes.
And so I know that we use in tanks a sort of, you know, old school, classical, military kind of like, you know, war theme. But to be honest,
I have a collection of 2 World War II marches, and they sound all the same.
Yeah, exactly, they do.
Germans, Americans, Japanese, they're all variations of the same.
Exactly, because they've got to be marching paced.
Yes.
And they're using traditional military bands who mainly have just got like snare drums and a bit of, you know. So yeah, they're a bit samey. It's okay. I mean, Victor is a huge fan, and he was the guy that drove that. We tend to use, when we create marketing materials, particularly videos, we tend to use, well, we've got our own genre of music, which we call battle music.
Can't you license Hellmarch or something like that?
We could do. We've licensed Prodigy. We tried to license Tool.
Excellent.
But Tool were just too aggressive commercially. We wanted Feuer Frei by Rammstein to use in a Warplanes video, but they just didn't want to work with anybody with war in the name, which was a shame.
It's a German music's problem.
It's the German mentality. We understand why. They're very sort of defensive, and you know, we understand why completely. But you know, while
industrial metal is excellent.
There you go. So yeah. Our kind of like key musical genres are like, sort of industrial metal, thrash, a bit of kind of what I call stadium techno, like Prodigy, Pendulum, that kind of stuff. You lump that all in together, and we call it battle music.
Goes well with the messes.
It's good for playing. It's good for playing World of Tanks and driving fast on motorways. You know, it's high adrenaline music for men, with a sort of aggressive sort of So that's the kind of, you know, the music genre that goes with the wargaming.net brand, and you'll see that in a lot of our promotional material. And you know, we're also talking to, like, I know Lemmy has sadly left us now, but we've had conversations with Motorhead, Iron Maiden, AC/DC, and Sabaton.
I'm still surprised about Lemmy Kilmister. He ate and drink like He was very healthy till the last moment, and it came as a shock to the entire metal community in Turkey too.
Yeah, we knew it was coming, but you just can't. I mean, that guy pretty much from the time he was roadieing with Hendrix in '69, he's been living on a diet of like Jack Daniels and amphetamines for decades.
Yes.
And he once famously went to see his physician, and the doctor said to him, "You can't stop now. Your entire metabolism is held together by whiskey and speed."
Yes.
And so, he was actually prescribed by the doctor to stay on that lifestyle. But ultimately, you're going to give out.
It catches up.
Yeah, and so we're just pleased he was around for those 70 plus years.
It was a good living.
It was fucking great. He's a hero.
As in the Gladiator, every man dies, not every man lives.
True. And in fact, he was a World of Tanks fan because when I lived in Paris, this would be 2013, Motorhead played in Paris, and I know the promoter, and I went backstage after the gig with Lemmy into his dressing room, and he's got one of those fruit machines because he's like...
What does he like behind the scene?
He's just a gentleman. He stands up, he'll shake your hands, he's brilliant with women.
Very good.
Really good with women. Old school gent, yeah. And he is an expert on military history, particularly World War II. So we're discussing Stalingrad, Kursk, and key moments. And we got onto tanks, and we had just released the X360 version. And he said he would get himself an X360 if I sent him a copy of World of Tanks. So we did, and I got a note back some months later saying, thanks for the game. But yeah, lovely guy, into military history and gaming, and yeah, there is a direct link between Lemmy and World of Tanks, which is cool.
I remember another name connected with military history, Bruce Dickinson.
Yes.
He's a super cool guy.
He is. He's a fencer and a pilot.
He's a pilot.
Yeah.
He loves tanks.
He does.
Yes, he loves tanks. He loves planes. It's a very good go, but
he's a good guy. I mean, Maiden. When you're dealing with like Motorhead or Sabaton or Saxon or those kind of bands, that's one level. You go up to Maiden level,
Maiden, I know.
And then it's like it's a big leap. So we've not found a way yet of working directly with them, but. Have you heard of a festival called Sonosphere?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I was there in Turkey.
You were? Brilliant. So
I was working like 12 hours a day. My editor-in-chief was looking after his baby.
Okay.
So I worked 12 hours. I pulled up the ladders, gone to concert,
yes,
partied for 12 hours, returned back to job for 3 days. It was great.
That's whatever it takes, as long as you get there. Yeah, 1 year at Sonosphere in the UK, probably about 3 years ago, they recreated a World War I dogfight in the air, and Bruce Dickinson was like one of the pilots. And the festival organisers wanted us to sponsor the World War I dogfight.
Great idea.
It was, but we weren't in a position to do it for various reasons. But yeah, there are these connections between our brands and our games. And
sometimes timing is just so right.
Yeah, timing, budgets. We were hoping for a fuller mix of activity. But anyway, we couldn't quite make it work. But yeah, there is that connection between our brands and heavy metal and rock and roll, which is cool.
I was in the Navy. I would love to see more of the World of Warships too.
Yeah, early days. It's doing well, and as it does better, there'll be more money to basically spend on it. So, yeah, there is somewhere in my inbox or in one of my personal folders, there is a list of kind of like key tracks that fit with World of Warships, and with warplanes, because it's more about speed.
Yes.
It kind of tanks is like power metal. That's the classic genre. With planes, it was like thrash and speed metal. With warships, it slows down. It's more stealthy, so it gets a little bit more industrial. Yeah.
Have you played old titles like Silent Hunter, Iliki, Sturmovik?
I've never played them. I've heard of at least 2 of those, but why do you mention them?
They were hardcore. No, I just mentioned them because I see similar tastes, and over 30 years old, most people remember those times and want to see their taste again
Come
in
back,
modern
yeah.
times, sometimes, and they sometimes hope and they relay their comments to us.
Fair enough.
I want to see them grow like these games. Old games are good, but you cannot forever play them.
True.
They have to change, they have to upgrade, or something new.
So
should
what
come,
was
like
the
Master of Orion.
yeah? What kind of genre were these games? Are we talking like submarine simulators or?
Silent Hunter was submarine simulator, but it had heavy navy theme going on. It was
Okay.
very stealthy. It was like watching very long movie, like watching. I couldn't remember the name, but Das Boot.
Oh, that's
watching
good.
that.
Classic, absolutely classic.
Each one has a theme
Yeah.
of a movie,
Yeah.
a classic of its time, a book, and some music from its time. It has a special soul. It has a special taste.
Gotcha.
LA2 Sturmovik had the same taste in the air. World of Tanks has an entire taste of its own.
Yes.
I'm putting it apart. But
Yeah.
World of Warships and the flying part are still evolving.
That's true.
They are finding themselves, I believe.
True.
But World of Tanks is getting more community pushed based in the mechanics, in the soul, in the spirit. But the brand stays the same.
Yes.
It's loud and heavy.
Absolutely. Well said, sir.
Thank you.
You can do my job effectively.
No, not even possible. Not without those years of connections. Your background is quite impressive. I see many
Thank you. I was
games.
lucky.
Lucky.
Well, I think luck plays a part. I mean, I guess, you know, if you work hard and study hard and you qualify and all that stuff, then yes, you've got skills you can use, but there's always some element of luck in there.
We are press. We are good analyzers. We watch. We learn.
Yeah.
But doing it is entirely another job.
Well, it's very brave to say so. It's like not everyone would necessarily agree, or even if they did, admit it. You know, I actually write for some music magazines back in the UK, Metal Hammer included.
Oh.
Not a lot, maybe 2 or 3 pieces
I have
a year.
old issues from my bigger brother's
Do you?
collection.
Brilliant.
80s magazines,
Yeah.
together with hunting magazines.
Yeah, and it's always interesting to see the relationship, the dynamic that exists between the musicians that are on stage performing or in the studio recording, and then the journalists, who are writing about whether they think it's any good or not.
Our generation has grown up. We were about music at that time. Now we are about more serious stuff too. It gets evolving, but there are connections in Turkey too. There's a community of people, like-minded people, liking the same things. They enjoy the same games, same music, and it grows up. In Turkey. Even it's smaller in Turkey actually.
Yeah, I mean, we are, I suppose, a niche brand, but it's a big niche, and it's a profitable niche, and it's a passionate niche. Yes. When you look at the statistics around the demographics and of our audience compared to the gaming norms, if you like, we skew older and we skew more male, and we skew even geekier. But because we're older and geekier, our guys are sort of professionals. They're often in science or engineering or those kind of professions, and so they're well paid as well as smart.
Our company advocates are all World of Tanks players.
Yeah, absolutely. And so it's like they're difficult to convince, but if you do if you've got a good product and you sort of market responsibly and share it, then once you get them in, they're prepared to spend. And B, they're loyal. And so, it's a great audience to have. I love having a smart, geeky audience. It's cool.
Thank you for your answers and your time.
My pleasure, sir. Come and see us anytime you like.
Thank you very much.